Summer's officially here, and the bikini sale at shackshop.us is happening right now. Get hot styles, bold prints, and perfect fits, all on sale for a limited time. Whether you're beach-bound or poolside, we've got the bikini that makes you feel confident, cute, and totally summer-ready. So don't wait. Head to shackshop.us and shop the sale before it ends. That's shackshop.us, your new favorite bikini spot.
Don Lemon taken into federal custody after Minnesota church protest. Inside the charges, the law, and the larger fight over protest, power, and the press. Don Lemon, the former CNN anchor turned in, and the larger fight over protest, power, and the press. Don Lemon, the former CNN anchor turned independent media personality, was taken into federal custody Thursday evening in Los Angeles, a development that has instantly ignited a new political firestorm at the intersection of protest politics, immigration enforcement, and the role of journalists in activist spaces. According to federal authorities and Lemon's legal team, the arrest stems from Lemon's alleged involvement in a January 18 anti-ICE protest inside a St. Paul, Minnesota church, an incident now being framed very differently depending on one's political vantage point. Federal officials say the case is about enforcing the rule of law and protecting the rights of others. Lemon and his supporters insist it is an unprecedented attack on press freedom designed to intimidate journalists and shield federal agencies from scrutiny. As with many high-profile cases in the current political climate, the truth and the legal consequences will be determined in court, not on social media. But the arrest itself already reveals much about how aggressively the federal government is now drawing lines around protests, particularly those involving immigration enforcement and religious institutions. Arrest in Los Angeles after high-profile event. Lemon, 59, was handcuffed by federal agents Thursday night in Los Angeles after attending the 2026 Recording Academy Honors. At the time of his arrest, Lemon was in California covering Grammy-related events, underscoring the national profile nature of the case. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security confirmed to multiple outlets that Lemon faces charges including conspiracy to deprive rights and violation of the Federal Freedom of Access to Clinics Act, FACE Act. The FACE Act, originally enacted to protect access to abortion clinics, has increasingly been applied in cases involving obstruction, intimidation, or interference with constitutionally protected activities. In this instance, federal prosecutors allege the statute was violated when demonstrators forcibly interfered with others' First Amendment rights during a protest inside City's church in St. Paul. Lemon's attorney, Abby Lowell, quickly issued a defiant statement via Instagram, promising that his client would fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. The statement framed Lemon not as an activist, but as a journalist performing constitutionally protected reporting. Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done, he said. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role it is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. What happened at City's church? The incident at the center of the case occurred on January 18, when approximately 30 to 40 individuals entered City's church in St. Paul during a service. The protest targeted David Easterwood, a pastor affiliated with the church who also serves as the director of ICE's St. Paul field office. Demonstrators sought to confront Easterwood over immigration enforcement actions following the deaths of two Minnesota protesters, Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy, who were killed in encounters involving federal agents earlier this year. Videos posted online show demonstrators chanting, confronting church leadership, and creating a chaotic scene inside the sanctuary. Lemon was present and filmed portions of the protest, later posting video to his social media channels. In one clip, Lemon can be heard remarking, "I'm sure people here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable." Federal officials say the protest crossed a legal line from protected speech into unlawful interference by targeting a house of worship and disrupting the rights of congregants to assemble and worship freely. Attorney General Pam Bondi reinforced that position in a statement posted the night of the protest, warning that the Justice Department would step in when state leaders fail to prevent lawlessness. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, she wrote, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. Journalist or activist? A central question in the case is whether Lemon's role was purely journalistic or whether prosecutors can plausibly argue that he crossed into active participation. Lemon has insisted he was cast as the face of a protest, despite not being the only reporter present. "I stand by my reporting," Lemon told Fox News Digital, noting that he has received a barrage of violent threats, along with homophobic and racist slurs since the incident. He also argued that the government's focus on him reflects misplaced priorities. This much time and energy would be far better used investigating the tragic death of Renee Nicole Good, the very issue that brought people into the streets in the first place, he said. Critics, however, argue that modern journalists, particularly those who openly advocate for political causes,
The use of the FACE Act in this context is likely to become a focal point of legal and political debate. Originally designed to prevent violent obstruction at abortion clinics, the law has been increasingly invoked in cases involving protests at sensitive locations, including religious institutions. Supporters of the law's broad application argue that constitutional rights do not disappear simply because a protest is political or moral in nature. Critics warn that expansive interpretations risk criminalizing dissent and chilling legitimate reporting. For conservatives, the case reinforces long-standing concerns about selective enforcement and activist journalism. For progressives, it is seen as evidence of a Justice Department willing to target critics while ignoring alleged misconduct by federal agents. Political context and public reaction. The arrest lands amid heightened national tensions over immigration, federal policing, and the boundaries of protest. It also comes as Lemon attempts to reinvent his career following his 2023 ouster from CNN over a sexism scandal that damaged his standing in mainstream media. Social media reaction has been predictably polarized. Supporters frame Lemon as a victim of political retaliation, while critics argue that no one, journalist or otherwise, is above the law. Attorney General Harmeet Dillon added fuel to the debate by stating publicly that a house of worship is not a public forum for your protest, a sentiment echoed by religious liberty advocates who say churches should not be turned into political battlegrounds. What happens next? Lemon has not yet personally addressed the charges in a formal statement, and it remains unclear when he will appear in federal court. Legal experts say the case could hinge on video evidence, witness testimony, and whether prosecutors can establish intent or coordination beyond mere documentation. Regardless of the outcome, the case is likely to set an important precedent. It raises fundamental questions about where journalism ends and activism begins, how far protest rights extend, and whether existing federal statutes are being stretched to meet the demands of a volatile political era. For now, Don Lemon finds himself at the center of a legal and cultural battle that extends far beyond a single protest in Minnesota, one that may ultimately redefine the rules for media, activism, and accountability in America. This article is a rewritten, original news analysis based on publicly reported information and statements from involved parties. All individuals are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law.